what we have in front of us is a very interesting data set. It's about a series of car sales or vehicle sales data from all across the world. It's for a multinational company. It's called um, sort of a mid-sized number of observations. So they've got, so let's say, in this case, as we're going forward, about 2,823 different observations of car sale or vehicle sales around the world. So you've got all these different categories, such as, or these different columns that define the sales, country, the territory. Um, what I've done is I've added a filter because they always come in very, very handy. The minute you add a filter, you now can say, all right, this is your filter marker. So you can go to data, and under that you've got filter. The minute you have a filter, it shows that, all right, you can see, all right, if somebody were to ask you, what are the different types of countries you have? You can say, all right, we've got all these countries from Australia, Austria, Belgium, Canada, Denmark, Finland, Germany, Italy, right up to the UK and the US. You've got all these different territories in North America, Asia Pacific, Europe, Middle East, and Africa, Japan, and so forth. You've got the different product lines. So you're talking about classic cars, motorcycles, planes, ships, trains, trucks, and buses, vintage cars, and these are all used goods that are being sold other places, either for parts or for a variety of different things. You've got all these different years: 2003, 2004, and 2005. You've got all these various quantities that you've sold, the discounts that you've given in your sales, the ancillary expenses in the process, the sales prices, and then your sales revenues. What we do want to look at is, so we're asking ourselves, so we look at a data set like that, and the first question we ask is, all right, I wonder, what are the things that impact sales revenues? Are things such as discounts truly effective? Or the sales prices the same across different things, different parts of the world? And in order to do that, I always start with something. Let's start with something very basic, which is, let's find a way to. So the first idea is to filter. So that you general sense, if you just want to now look at, okay, I just want to look at Australia, and it tells you what you have with Australia. You know, the things you're selling there, and the quantity you're selling, the years you've sold, the sales revenues, and you can even make different means or medians for Australia versus for um, the United States versus Austria versus Switzerland, and so on and so forth. So that's one very, very useful thing. So that way you don't have to just write a series of conditional if statements saying that if Australia, then find that, or else don't. So that's a good way of doing a basic filter. The second thing we ask is, all right, can we get a quick overview, quick snapshot of what's going on in the first place? So in this case, a quick snapshot, a pivot table is a wonderful and a very useful, very straightforward tool that you can use. So we'll say summarize with pivot table, and we'll let Excel figure out where the data set is, and says A1 to A20 I to, let's see, I2824, and we'll say new worksheet, and we'll click OK. Now you'll see we'll call it a pivot table, and once we just touch on it, you see that you've got all these different field names, which are nothing but the names of the columns. The columns will always be the fields. So uh, sort of transpose or move around or tweak your data in a way so that that always makes sense. So your columns will be your fields. So we want to now say, all right, what's one of the main things? Assume we want to say, let's say how much discounts we give. And instead of saying sum of discount, I'm just going to change it to the average of discounts. Right? So it tells you what's the average discount. It tells you that across the world, across all different types of vehicles, average discount seems to be about 17.06%. That's the average discount. We want to see, all right, do average discounts really change based on country? So we'll put countries out there. And it gives you somewhat of a noise sense. It says average of discount, and if you know where to, we can say, right, it's nice and fine. Let's try and plot it out this one. And we'll go select it, go to pivot chart, and we have this pivot chart right out there. And it tells you, all right, who tends to get the most, and you see that Switzerland, on average, uh, ends up getting the most amount of discounts, followed by Singapore, followed by Denmark, followed by Ireland, and all that. Now, we could also say, all right, we also want to know how much do we get in terms of sales revenue. So we'll say average of sales revenue. So let's move discounts off. So we'll say convert that into average, or just choose the average, in fact. So these are the average sales revenues. And we want to say, all right, based on countries, we know that. And we also want to know, let's say, sales prices. So how do they both work? Average sales price. And now when you've got that, you see the average sales prices, and you also want to see the discounts. And then we'll say in settings, average. So let's remove average sales revenues for the time being. And let's say, we'll say change chart type to a line chart. And this shows you that the discount sort of remains there, but as you're moving forward, there are certain places where the discount drops, but the average sales prices keep going up, which might give you a sense that, oh, wait, perhaps we're giving discounts in the wrong place in the in the wrong place altogether. So let's look a bit further, and let's look at in terms of the product line itself. So if you're looking at the product line, it also subtly tells you that tend to be your average sales price tends to be the highest for classic cars, but you also seem to be giving some discounts out there. Motorcycle seems to be a very nice setup. You're giving very few discounts, but you're getting a nice bit of, your sales price is not terribly bad. Is trucks, vintage cars in this case, you have lower sales prices, but you're also not giving much discounts at all. And then we can also look at it by in terms of the year ID. How did they do year by year? We can move year ID there. We can start looking at, all right, we just want to look at particular countries. So we might just want to look at the countries in Europe. So Austria, Belgium, Denmark, Finland, France, Germany, Ireland, Italy, Norway, Spain, Switzerland, Sweden, Switzerland, and the UK. To see, all right, is there a particular set where we can glean in terms of how well they do? Again, if we were to look at your sales revenues across these countries too, go there, say it's average, and you say, all right, you've got your sales revenue, your sales prices, and you can start saying that, all right, sales prices go up here by a little bit, but sales revenues go up massively. Sales prices go down by a little bit, for vintage cars and sales revenue goes down. So, just by looking at this, you can start inferring things such as, perhaps vintage cars, buyers of vintage cars might be much more price sensitive. The minute your or sales prices, or actually are price insensitive, minute the prices of sales, you know the average of sales price for a vintage car goes down, people also think that the car might not be very good. It's not worth paying good money for that kind of car, so they end up purchasing way less. On the other hand, you see that average of sales prices for trucks and buses seems to be very high out there. When this goes down, these seems to be moving together. When it goes down, this goes down too. So there's again a sense of insensitivity out there. So people tend to react differently. So we've got all these different countries. Again, going back to all countries gives you a chance to look at the data and start making some basic guesses. But we still want to know what drives sales revenues. All of these things that we have, do all of these issues, especially things such as the amount of quantity ordered, the discounts that you give, the ancillary prices, do these things, the year, uh, do they all impact sales revenues, and to what extent? So let's try and find that. So we go back to the data, and now what we say is we want to open up data analysis because we want to get into a prediction modeling. But in order to do that, to do prediction modeling, we first need to know what is the trend that defines what kind of prediction modeling we should do in the first place. And then, in order to do that, there's a very famous technique called regression, and we click OK and ask you, all right, what would you like to know? Which basically means, what do you think, what's your main outcome that you want to know about? And in our cases, we want to know about the sales revenues. What impacts them? So we'll just choose that. I'm going to go Command, Shift, and down arrow on the Mac to choose the whole set. But we know it's 2824, so that's a good idea, or a good thing to know in the first place. And then input X range. Of course, Excel, you have to make sure that they're all a contiguous range. So we start with year ID, and we say we want to look at the impact of all of these. We're saying that, well, sales revenues are going to depend upon things such as year ID, or the year, the quantity, discount, ancillary expenses, and the sales prices. And we say, all right, fair. Make sure that the first one's labels, and of course, confidence interval by default is 95% confidence interval, which gives you a 5% level of significance, which is nothing but 100% minus the confidence interval. And anything below the 5% level of significance basically tells you that if it is below that, then you accept that there is a good relationship. If it's greater than the 5%, it basically means that the chances that there was really no relationship between all of these things and sales revenues, or each of these things and sales revenues, is negligible, right? So, and we'll talk a little bit more about that. So let's choose output range, and we'll go up and we'll say, all right, let's put our output right in there, and we click OK. So we get our, we've got our basic regression model, which allows you, which is the first step towards doing prediction model. So regression is just a technique, but what you're learning is the type of analytical modeling is prediction modeling. So firstly, look at adjusted R-square, mainly because it takes, it's sort of it takes care of things such as correlations and all that stuff, and multicollinearity oftentimes. So better to take a look at adjusted R-square. Now, adjusted R-square in this case basically means that all of these things, such as year, quantity, discount, ancillary expenses, and sales prices, so causes such as year, discount, quantity, um, prices, expenses, explain 95.83 percent of the variance in sales revenues. That's what it means. So basically it's saying that it has a very good explanatory power. But let's go forward with it. So we see that we've got all these different p-values. That's the second thing. Are all of them worth considering? And the only way to figure out if they're worth considering is by looking at them and saying, okay, let's see if they are less than 5%, right? Remember, 95% is your confidence interval, which means 5% is your level of significance. Rule of thumb is the p-value has to be less than 5%. So don't worry about the intercept. The intercept is just a starting point. It's good for the prediction model, but you really don't have to worry about interpreting it all the time. So in this case, we'll say, all right, if this value is less than 0.05, well, you don't really have to do this part, but this is a quick conditional statement. Then you can say, all right, so we can call it significant. It's a quick way to view it, especially if you've got loads of data and there's some confusion about, oh my god, I don't know if that is significant or not. So you're saying that if this is less than 0.85, call it significant, else not. So they all seem to be significant. So we are saying that what we're finding from this data is that the quantity ordered, the discounts given, the ancillary expenses, and the sales prices are all significant. So it basically says, all right, they seem to be all legitimate causes that are also significant causes, which means that they could be included in doing an analytical prediction modeling. So next question comes, so let's look at what these things even mean. Now, here's an interesting caveat. If you did find any of the causes that you had ascertained to be insignificant, you would need to remove that particular characteristic or attribute or property. So assume if quantity ordered were found to be insignificant. If suppose that happened, then what we need to do is that we need to remove quantity ordered for the prediction model and then run it to do any kind of further predictions. So simply put, you cannot include any insignificant or non-significant factors in the model when making a prediction. All factors have to be significant. So in this case, let's try and explain what they are. So year ID, all it means is every year that passes between the years we've considered, sales seem to go up year to year. So for every change in 1 year, sales seems to go up by $3,293.70. Quantity ordered. Every time you order one quantity, an extra quantity, gives you a sales revenue of about $2,782.87. So this is how you price your items. This is what they're saying, that when a quantity is ordered, the average price, say, this also gives you an average of all these different vehicles that you sell, because think of it, all it's saying is every time you order one more quantity, your sales revenue. So it tells you, all right, your sales revenue goes up by $2,782.87 for every extra quantity, one more quantity ordered. That simply means that the average price of each vehicle is about $2,782.87. Next is discount. All it says is, so the key is every single one. So let's see, year is, the unit is in year, quantity is in per piece, a piecemeal, discount is in percentage, expenses are in dollars, sales prices are in dollars. So always remember that. So one more, if you add one more year, for every change in year, sales seem to go up by $3,293.70. Every extra quantity ordered, sales goes up by $2,782.87. Every percentage discount offered, so same unit, your sales goes down by $338.59. For every ancillary expense that you have, your sales, so things such as documentation costs, um, putting it in storage, every single other expense reduces your sale um, sales revenues by about $473.53. And then your sales prices, every time you charge one more dollar in sales, your sales revenues actually go up. So here you find a very interesting discrepancy. You can charge one more dollar in the price and your sales goes up, your sales revenue seem to go up by $47, yet you're giving a revenue where your sales revenues are going down. So all it's saying is that with these vehicles, based on this sample, people don't seem to be terribly sensitive about price, and they might not care too much about getting a discount, because if they were, then if your sales prices would go up, then your sales revenues should have gone down, right? So it would have shown that, oh, people are very sensitive to prices. Anytime price goes up, we end up ordering less. But no, it's looking. It seems to be that, I suppose, every time you raise your sales price, your prices go up by a dollar, people tend to purchase more. So might want to reinvestigate this bit in terms of, all right, so why is discount and sales? What's this very interesting relationship? So each of these means something. So in order to understand the relationship between them, we can also do a quick correlation. So in this case, what we'll do is we'll run a quick correlation and saying, all right, where do you want the correlation to, or what do you want to consider in the correlation itself? And we want to look at the correlation between all of these, and we'll say, where do we want it to be? We'll say, all right, we want it to be right out here, because that will now tell you the relationship between each of them. So we've got that, and we want to look at the relationship between discounts and sales revenues. And say, we also look at the discount between sales prices. That when sales prices go up, discounts actually tend to, there's a negative relationship between discounts. So every time discount goes up by 1%, sales prices seem to go down by about 0.4. So this is a problematic piece, which says that the company managing this, or the companies that are managing it, might be wasting their discounts on things that should not have been discounted. And that's one of the interpretations, because discounts seem to cost you money. Discounts seem to cost you money, just the way we found out here. So every time you add one more, when discount goes up by 1, sales revenue seem to go down by about 0.28. When discount goes up by 1, sales prices seem to go down by 0.4. So it's important for you to consider these factors in terms of how you interpret the data more than anything else when you're even embarking on something like that. And the final piece is now, based on that, suppose we say, let's create two scenarios. So the first scenario, so we'll say scenario 1 and scenario 2. And the first scenario, we say, all right, quantity ordered 200, discount, suppose 2%, and ancillary expenses 30 or $100, and sales prices are suppose $2,000, and sales, oh, we don't need sales revenues, we want to figure out what the sales revenues are going to be. So, oh, and the year, so the year is 2018 or 2019. And then the second scenario, we say quantity ordered 300, discount 0%, ancillary expenses 200, sales prices 1800, and year 2020. And now, if somebody were to say that, all right, based on this, can you help? So we're going to use this set out here. So let me try and mark it. So this set right out there. And based on that, all we'll do, therefore, is it's going to be a quick setup. So prediction or sales prediction. So for scenario 1 is therefore going to be is equal to, here we consider the intercept. The setup is always y is a function of x's, but when you set it up, it's y is nothing but the intercept. So we were to write it, so sales revenue is equal to intercept plus the coefficient of each x times the value of each x. Plus there's an error term, but we shan't worry about that. So in this case, therefore, for scenario 1, we'll say is equal to, that's the intercept, plus all we want to do is say that year ID, so we're saying year ID times the year plus quantity coefficient times the quantity plus discount coefficient times discount plus ancillary expenses times the ancillary coefficient plus sales price coefficient times the sales prices. And that's about it. And we immediately say, all right, it's likely that for this year we're going to have $564,752 $564,752.58. Now, if we were to say, what about scenario 2? So let's say scenario 2 prediction. All we do is I'll do a quick shortcut. Same thing. You've seen in this case, this is scenario 2. So this is, let's color code them. This one, let's say it's like a version of a blue, and that's the same blue. And for scenario 2, that's scenario 2. And let's turn that into, and then let's do a quick calculation. Equal to, again, intercept plus, what I'm going to use is a function called sum product, because then it'll just let you choose the whole set. So in order to do sum product, I need to make sure that so I in this case I can do sum product, but it has to be a bit convoluted because I didn't, year should have been right on top to match it. So intercept plus, we can do sum product for us tiny bit. So sum product of, let's see, we've got quantity, discount, ancillary expenses, sales prices. So that, and quantity ordered, discount, ancillary, sales prices. And then we have to do the year separately, sadly, because I should have moved the year there. So year coefficient times this specific year. And then you enter, and it's found an issue. So L23, let's tackle this straightforward manner then. So is equal to, that's the intercept, plus year ID coefficient times the year for scenario 2, plus quantity ordered coefficient times quantity ordered for scenario 2, plus discount coefficient times discount offered for scenario 2, plus ancillary expenses coefficient times the ancillary expenses assumes for scenario 2, plus sales prices coefficient times the sales prices, the average sales prices for scenario 2. And then we enter and says, based on that, it's likely to be $790,000.30. Now, the nice thing here is, now you can play around and you say, what happened therefore, what if we didn't offer any discounts in scenario 1, and say, all right, 0, and it immediately tells you, oh, it basically, in that case, it increased to $565.429. On the other hand, for scenario 2, it's right now $790,304.43. What happened if we ordered a 5% discount? And it'll immediately tell you, now you're going to get $788.611.49. So the best way to tackle it is, because a good sum product, I'm going to show it to you because it's a useful technique anyway. But had we set it up exactly the way everything ran, so year ID, and then suppose we said 2019 ordered 200 items with a 10% discount and $400 ancillary expenses and $1,500 sales price. And if we wanted to just use the sum product for this scenario, we're just predicting. So again, going back to it, intercept plus sum product of the first array, which is all the coefficients, year ID, quantity ordered, and the next and basically the values, and then you enter it, and voila, you have it. So all it shows is this one. All this basically means is um, the intercept plus L19 times L40, so coefficient of year times the coefficient or the value of the year. Um, Quantity ordered coefficients, quantity ordered value, discount coefficient, discount value, ancillary expenses coefficient, ancillary expenses value, and sales price coefficient and sales price value. And that was a quicker way of doing it called sum product. Couldn't do it previously because they have to be arranged in exactly the same way. So this is a useful way to understand things, but also starting how or learning how to use a regression um, technique to come up with a prediction modeling, I suppose. So hopefully this was useful, and thank you very much.